Hey guys, welcome back to another Athlete Next Door podcast. I'm your host, Taylor. Today's video will be sponsored by StrongDadApparel.com as well as Ironworks Strength Alliance. Today is part 2 of episode 1, where we're going to be featuring DJ Malinowski, my coach. Check out our videos for the part 1 of the gym tour. So, all right, let's start with your background. I got my little cheat sheet with us. So let's go over your journey into sports, starting from childhood on to college, to coaching, and the current sports that you like to focus on.
Yeah, so first off, thanks. I don't know why I'm yelling, but thanks thanks for having us. And the first walkthrough was really fun, so I was excited to kind of sit down and talk about some more.
Yeah, get more personal on this.
Background, let's see. I grew up with a love for football. Some of my earliest memories are, so my dad was like, quote unquote, like a legend in his town where he played football and all kinds of stories. But from a super young age, I remember going to football games that he went to high school at. Mm-hmm. And the East Coast Thanksgiving Day games are a big deal. High school football games, everybody plays on Thanksgiving. And so I remember sneaking into games, jumping the fence, crawling under fences when I was little, and getting into these games with my dad, who, looking back, was not the best example, but we were always at the game. Yeah. And I got to go in the locker room as a kid and just think about, like, you know, at 6, 7 years old, like, these guys are enormous. These are the biggest people I've ever seen in my life. Yeah. Going out there and playing football. And so I developed this love for the sport. And I tried some other sports when I was a kid. My town was a big soccer town, so I tried soccer, realized don't like running. Yeah. Baseball, realized I couldn't hit the ball. And then finally my dad let me play football in middle school, and just fell in love with it.
Kind of a core memory at that point.
Yeah. Played through middle school, got into high school, played football my freshman year, and then that's really when I started falling in love with training. Okay. Specific to football, but I remember, like, when I was in middle school, like, my dad had like a little bench or something down in the basement. I remember going down there, and like, that's when I first started like lifting weights. I was maybe 12, 13 years old. Yeah, perfect. Kind of messing around, gym fail, bar gets stuck on your chest, you freak out, you dump it both sides. Like, happy YouTube wasn't a thing.
We all done it
when I was a kid. And then high school, I got myself in some trouble, and I ended up getting grounded from any after school activities, and the only thing I could do was lift and play football, which ended up being the biggest blessing in my life. It's funny how God works like that. You know, in the moment you're getting disciplined for something, but in the back half, like, it ends up being like a life-changing event. But I fell in love with training, fell in love with the sport that much more, because that's really all I had was football and lifting. That was my freshman year. Then my sophomore year, came back and we got a new PE teacher, assistant football coach that was an ex-bodybuilder, and he took me under his wing, and for the next 3 years it was me and him. We lifted together all the time. I owe a lot to Coach Scavone. He really kind of set me on a path, like, for the rest of my life with training and teaching, and just how he invested in me. And really, his investment in me is why, like, I hold myself to a standard of, like, trying to invest in other kids and the kids I coach and teach. It's because of him and Coach Witter, the other PE teacher. They both, like, in high school, gave me a lot of opportunities to come in. Like, when I had study hall, they would let me come and, like, student teach their PE classes of, like, the freshmen when I was a senior. Those two really invested a ton in me, and so people say, like, passing the torch and things like that. And so I really feel like, I've been blessed with so much. Like, how much more should I be trying to do this for other people and give opportunities for other kids?
Are they still around, or have you heard?
Yeah, we saw. I haven't seen Scavone in a long time, but Coach Witter, we went back to the East Coast a little while ago for one of my sisters when she got married, and she invited him, and so I was able to shake his hand and tell him how much his investment into me meant, and like the ripple effect of his investment in my life. So it was a really cool moment. I'm getting a little emotional now. Definitely emotional then, but it was, you don't always get that opportunity, so it was really cool.
Yes, that he's still around to see the fruit of his labors on that.
Yeah. So it was cool.
So that's through high school, and then what happened after that?
High school, and then my sophomore year in high school, I started throwing track. So I had another football coach. He was a football coach, track coach, and he got me to come off for track. And so it was cool. Like I threw, and so it was, kind of one of those strength sports.
Yeah.
And so again, just gave me another opportunity to just lift, train, throw some heavy stuff. And I didn't love track. I love football, but I appreciated and valued it and enjoyed my time there. Which again led me to help coach track later on. So that's through high school. I also played like intramural basketball, just active, running around, having fun.
Yes.
And then college, I went to Springfield College my freshman year. I walked on the football team.
And where's that located?
Massachusetts.
Okay.
It's actually where John Cena went. Can't see me.
But you didn't see him there.
I didn't see him, no. And then, so I went there my freshman year. And then near the end of my freshman year, I kind of was looking to transfer, just money. Getting closer to home, getting closer to home. And so I transferred to Central Connecticut State University in Connecticut. And then when I was transferring, the high school that I played football at offered me a job coaching. So I started coaching at 19, 20 years old. Started coaching football there, spearheaded their training. And that school gave me a lot of opportunities with coaching, but also after school activities. Like I was the weight room guy after school for a handful of years.
Okay.
I had open gym stuff. I worked a lot of their soccer games and basketball games, and
that's a dream for a lot of people.
It was cool. It was really cool to be, yeah. And so I got to coach my brother in high school, which was really cool. And then I was working on my PE degree. Eventually, near the tail end of that, I ended up switching my degree over to exercise science for various reasons. And then also around that same time, my brother graduated high school, and then we started doing music. So there was a good 8 to 10 year chunk where I wasn't doing a whole lot with sport. I was still lifting because I love to lift and train, but not as consistent, not as focused. And I wasn't really around sport. We were doing music, played worship music, a lot of Christian rock, if you will.
The whole genre of,
all around the East Coast, specifically the Northeast, New England. And did that for a handful of years. I got married, started having kids, graduated, started working in group homes, special ed schools. Just knew that God had me working with kids in some capacity.
Still in that area? You were still local to where you started?
Yeah, still in Connecticut. And then about 10-ish years ago, we just felt like God was asking me to make a big move. And so we moved across the country here to Woodland, Washington. And here is really where God used all of that background to really come to fruition and like bring it full circle. Okay. When I moved here, I wasn't a teacher. I know my cert. Within the first year of moving here, I started coaching football again. I started training kids again. We were able to buy the house right next to the middle school that I worked at. I started my master's in teaching. And so that kind of just snowballed to the point of now where I teach PE and strength and conditioning at the middle school. I am the head strength coach for the district. I run a big summer program. We have between middle school, high school, over a little close to 250 athletes.
Yeah, that one that I helped you with was insane.
Yeah, so we run a big summer program. And then I have the gym now, Ironworks. This is actually a year old of training people this week. Yeah. So now I have a place like my college athletes, they can come like when they're home, and I'll give them programming and they'll use the space. We have the group of us that compete in strongman here. And so now I'm at the point now where my kids are playing sports. And so I've coached my daughter's basketball team. My sons both started wrestling this year. So I am going to start to wrestle. I've never wrestled a day in my life, but I got to learn.
It's more about learning just to follow the rules, if anything.
Yeah. You know, you can't put two hands behind somebody's head. I didn't know that.
Yeah. That's a big transfer.
So, but it's cool to see all those things that talking about earlier about, you know, high school and get in trouble that freshman year and biggest blessing, like all the things from college and when I got married and just the different situations, places I was working that seemingly made no sense in the time. Now, 10, 15, 20 years later, I'm like, okay, that's why I did that.
Yeah.
Is for this.
Yeah.
And so it's cool. Again, you don't always get to look back on certain things and see why the journey. Yeah. And so it's just been confirmation of the move out here, but also just like being faithful in where God has you, knowing that it's for a purpose. And so,
sure.
Yeah, it's been pretty cool to just see where we've been, where I've been, and what I've done, and then how God's used that.
Yeah. So for perspective, I met you only 2 years ago.
Yeah,
it's actually 2 years now, which is crazy. It's already been 2 years, but you came to Woodland. You started your involvement really just after I graduated. Mm-hmm. So we had hundreds of mutual friends.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
And like, I knew one day I was going to meet you because like, this dude knows all the people I know. And it made me wish you were a part of the school when I was there, because you would have made a world of a difference for someone like me who just had a lot of other stuff on my plate.
Yeah.
That pulled away from my athletics, because I did a lot too. Like, I like to try things. So I did, through high school, I did baseball, golf, soccer, baseball. I already said baseball. Baseball, golf, soccer, football, and out at college, even ultimate frisbee. Mm-hmm. So that would have been nice, but hey, here we are. And even then, 2 years ago, we were just in your
we were in your
kids' playroom, basically, with a squat rack.
Yep.
Now here we are in this recording a podcast.
Pretty wild.
Yeah. All right, so I want to get on to the next session, covering your training. So kind of the first question to that is, what is your current programming and kind of your training schedule? I know it's a little, let's say, like you've said before, you're consistent, but you have to work around a lot.
Yeah. So right now, for the last 8-9 years, I've been at the high school at 6 a.m. Monday through Friday. And that's always been, an option for kids. The original intent behind it was, we have so many kids at Woodland that play 2-3 sports. Mm-hmm. When is their time to train? And so nobody wants to go lift after practice or after a game per se. So the only real time is in the morning. And so that's really the heart behind why I started doing that, is give these kids an option, these multi-sport players an option to be as consistent as they can in training.
Yeah.
And I kind of broke it down. I actually had this same conversation with a kid the other day. And he's like, when you said this to me and my mom, that's when things clicked. And what I said was, if I only ever see you in the 8 weeks in the summer, I only ever get 1 year of training with you out of your whole 4-year high school career. Mm-hmm. How much better can you get in that time if you just came 2 days a week?
Yeah.
All 4 years.
It's a numbers game.
Now you go 3 days a week. If you come 5 days a week, all 4 years of high school, imagine what that could, it's just like, just building, like you stack days.
Yeah.
You stack days. If your days only come in one season, then you have a bunch of days in between where you're not stacking anything, you're not getting very high.
Yeah. So you do your 6 a.m. lifts. Do you lift with the kids? That's when you get most of your lifts in?
Yeah. So I train with them. That is really twofold. One, obviously I get to train. I think I'm a big believer. It's hard to lift solo. It's hard to push yourself solo.
Yes.
You know that.
I do that in my home gym.
You know that. And for me, lifting with kids that are 20 plus years younger than me, like they have an energy that like I can feed off of.
Yeah.
And as I get older, it's like, okay, like some of these little turds are pretty strong. And so it's like, you're not going to beat me. And their goal is to beat me.
Yeah. That's how it is with my daughter. She's super fast. She's 6 years old, but she's the fastest on her team. My goal is I'll forever be faster than my kids. Yeah. So we do our sprints together, and she's equal to me now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm on a weight cut.
Yeah. Well, that's like I tell my boys. I have a 14-year-old and a 13-year-old, and it's like I train this hard so I can dominate you as long as I possibly can.
That's right. Yeah.
And I tell you what, it's the 13-year-old is a load, and my 14-year-old's wiry, so we're getting there.
Yeah.
But so it's been great to train with them for so many reasons, and I get to build these amazing relationships. Like I was able to, I've been at so many athletes' weddings. I actually was officiated one of their weddings. We have kids, like one of the kids that his mom used to drop him off at my house before 6 a.m. lift. I'd bring him to 6 a.m. lift for like 3 years straight. He just randomly stopped over, was like, hey, do you have a clamming gun? I'm going clam. Like I've been able to build these really strong relationships with these kids because, you know, when you stack those days up, you end up spending a considerable amount of time with these kids.
Yeah.
And what's great about like the difference of coaching football versus the training piece is I am not in control of playing time. I'm not in control of any of that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm literally just there to make you better.
Yeah.
And so there's no pressure there per se, you know.
I wish I had that when I was there, when I was in school.
Yeah.
So for perspective, our coach didn't really do that kind of stuff. Lifting wise, the ones who lifted a lot, we would go to a different gym in town. There was a group of 3 or 4 of us where, I guess I can say it now since it's been 10 plus years, we would, the weight room was a mezzanine and you could climb, you could see it. And so what we do is we would
don't tell my students that go and watch this how to get up there.
Okay, well, we found a secret way to get up there. And now looking back, you know, when one of the coaches did find out, who no longer works there, he was proud of us because he's like, oh, wow, you guys found a way. So I won't go into detail on how we did it, but I was a little more athletic then.
I know how you did it, but don't tell these little kids.
So yeah, so seeing that's awesome.
Yeah. So
outside of that 6 a.m., then let's say for your own training in programming, is it just your Saturday strongman?
Yeah. So my schedule now is a little different now that we've opened Ironworks. So I'm at the high school now, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and that's open to any. So I'll get anywhere from 2 kids to I've had up to 20 kids show up, and it's also dependent on the season. So like during football season, we'll get a lot of the football players, and we do an in-season. I do an in-season program, off-season program. Modify everything per injuries, game day lifts are different. So at any moment I could have 3 or 4 different variations per what's going on with that kid.
Yeah.
And then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm here at Ironworks. Oh, let me go back. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm in Ironworks at between 4:30 and 5, getting set up. There's a group that comes in, I line them out, then I go to the high school. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm here. I've got a group of high school girls that come in at 5 into Ironworks, so I'm training them here. And then I have a handful of wrestlers that come in, and then 1 or 2 other guys that come in at 6 and train with them. And so I am at all 5 of those 6 a.m. groups, I am lifting. And so what I've found for me, and just further research and whatnot, just longevity and the athletic-based movements, the plyos, we do explosive days where we're trying to move things nice and quick. Yeah. The athletic-based training has really helped me as far as just knee health, back health, core strength, general overall like quality of movement, quality of health. That has been really kind of the fountain of youth per se. Yeah. And I think really what kind of is huge for me for strongman is the athletic piece of it.
Yes.
A few years ago, like right around when we met, maybe a little bit before we met, I thought to myself, I'm doing all this training and lifting with all these athletes and they get to go play their sports. Like they get to go use their results for a specific thing, whether it's track, basketball, softball, whatever it is. What am I doing with all this stuff? Mm-hmm. And when I turned, I think it was 40, or there was close to 40. I said to myself, I want to try to do a powerlifting meet, a strongman competition, and a Highland Games competition. And the more I thought about it, I was like, the powerlifting, yes, they're athletes, but like the quality of athletic movement is different
Because it's all static.
than the other two.
That's why I'm
it's all
not a big
static.
fan. I like powerlifter training style, but the static competition.
And I thought to myself, like, I know as I get older, I want to keep these qualities of movement. Let me just focus on the other two, because I think that there's a closer direct correlation to all the cleans and the box jumps and the other plyo movements and the explosive bench press, and it's more of a crossover to those things. So let me do that.
Yeah.
And so so it gave me a purpose and a reason outside of just feeling good of using that training. It just, when you have goals, whether it's compete in something, weight loss, maybe a number you're trying to get at, you push yourself a little bit more. And so it gave me kind of that like longer goal of like, okay, I want to do this thing. Let's get in shape for this thing. And so that's when kind of the strongman thing started, and it's been super fun because that's now a whole nother sub community that I have of people that we can quote unquote like do life together, but really kind of like impact each other's lives, push each other to be better.
People think a lot of time that the only way of like functional fitness, like in the local realm, is CrossFit. But seeing outside of that, you get totally different personality types in strongman. It's I'd see CrossFit is more of like a functional cardio, and strongman is the functional strength. It's the two different halves of the same thing that athletes are mostly more aligned with like high school athletes and such with the CrossFit side, because a little bit lighter weight people, lighter weights being moved around, more endurance based, which I get for athletics. But if you put more people in strongman, when I was pushing some of the firefighters that I was with to do strongman, because if you can pick up a rock and carry it 30 feet, you can help a firefighter with his 70 pounds of gear on. You can drag him out of the fire. And that's what I wanted to see, because I was the only one doing that.
There's definitely, like, when you look at the Rogue and whatnot, you can see similar, like strongman, just like at the watered down level is a really heavy CrossFit to some respect. Obviously they have different movements, and there are different.
And it's been around.
It's been around
50 years longer.
I think athletic specific it's tough, because if you're training for a sport, I don't think CrossFit is the best move. I think that I look at CrossFit as its own sport with the byproduct of being a high level of fitness. But as far as using it as a training tool towards a sport, I think most strength coaches would agree that that's probably not. And this will create a firestorm, but not the best option per se. But
it's an interesting take. I mean, it depends.
It is
how heavy you're going. A kid doesn't need to have a max yoke or a max Atlas stone over bar. But if they can pick up a sandbag and move it in the space, they can be an outstanding lineman.
100%. And I think the variables are where everything lies. You know what I mean?
It's not a fine line.
No, it's not. And that's what's cool about fitness. It's like we were just kind of talking about earlier about different styles of programming, and for me that's fun. Like, hey, how does so and so do this? How do they program? Like, their kids are doing really well at this thing. I feel like at Woodland we do a really good job of performance output. Like our kids, that's something that we've heard time and time again from other coaches, and you see it from our kids, is like we're able to give a high level of output for the entire game. You see teams that kind of peter out at halftime, or they kind of have spurts. And when I look at the way in which I program and train for these kids, like, it makes sense. Like it's tough. It's not easy. And from an aspect of physical strength, but also the mental piece of like pushing yourself to certain points.
You can be a heavy, but you have to believe in
and
believe you can do it.
So like the mental piece, I literally had this conversation with my nephew here, who was training here the other day, of like, I struggle with just giving up on stuff. And it's like, okay, if you have a bar on your back and you're about to squat, like what's your headspace sound like? Because right now you're training yourself how to have mental toughness outside of here by using the squat rack, the bench press, the clean, whatever you're doing. Like, it's a tool in which to help you be a better human. Not just be stronger. And so like, I have a big group of volleyball players that I'm training right now, and talking to them about, hey, like, we're here to get you stronger, but we work a lot with FCA, and FCA has this model, it's called 3D coaching. And it's, you got to coach the physical aspect, of the sport or whatever you're doing. Us here specifically, like getting you stronger, more explosive, being able to jump. So physically and then mentally, working on that mental toughness, working on the strategy of whatever you're doing, but then also the spiritual side of this. And like when you look at a person holistically, like you have to, those three things need to be addressed. And so if we can do that in this space, I feel like we're making a bigger impact, just more so than just getting stronger.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of respect, like what Strongman Saturday I think is kind of turned into us.
Yeah.
Into here, it's like a community of people, and we're all different shapes and sizes.
Yeah. We have one dude who's in the 150 range.
Yeah.
And you got me, I'm up around the 300 range. And we got, which is awesome, because then we got different weights going.
We all different ages.
Pushing the same limits.
Andrea's here. Andrea comes with her son sometimes.
Yeah.
And so, but we're all able to kind of push each other in those three aspects.
Yeah.
To some respect. And I think that's really, that's why CrossFit I feel like has done so well, is because they do community really well.
Yes.
And it's annoying to the rest of the world. But they do an amazing job. That's why, again, that's what you hear about Westside Barbell. Model. The same thing. Like, you know, you create this kind of like subculture family.
Yeah.
And you're all there going in the same direction.
Yeah.
And that's why those things work. I mean, when you look at, like I said, Westside Barbell, that's the number one thing. Like, yeah, they're training. Lewis Simmons was somewhat of a mad genius. Right, but also really they had that community. Like they pushed each other to the very limits, and that's what built that bond. That's why they did really well.
And I saw that a lot of people, you know, it's debatable on the conjugate method that they implemented so often, but in reality, it's the fact that you are working out with the same dudes who push you far harder than you'll push yourself.
Yeah.
And you see them lifting heavy weights, you naturally will start lifting heavier weights.
Just push each other back and forth.
How much of it is it really the conjugate method they try to sell, and how much of it is the social aspect that created their strength?
Yeah.
In a way. And
both play a part. Well, how, you know, what that mix is, you'll never know. But we do know that both are important.
Yeah.
How you program, how you periodize, and then you know who you're training with. Because like I said earlier, like it's tough to do it solo.
Some people do. You'll see videos like, you know, Tom Haviland, I think he's in Australia.
Yep.
He's just picking up rusty pieces of metal, but the dude's 6'8", 400 pounds and jacked. It's like, I could never do that.
Yeah.
Like I could never push myself to do that.
That's a different level of mental toughness.
It's all different personality types, and that's the realm of it. So, okay, moving on to the next one. So what would you say is your short goals 5 years out, 10 years out, and 20 years out in the training realm?
Just to still be doing it. So I'm 40, I'll be 43 in 2 weeks. So 20 years, I'm looking at being 60 something. If I could still be like, big shout out to Coach Greenleaf, but if I could still be doing what he's doing, like I'd be pretty pumped.
Yeah. It was so cool as a high schooler, like he had benching 4 plates plus.
Yeah, no, he's just an absolute
gray
unit.
and old.
And and it's like,
that's all it was though. I mean, he had a hard time walking up them stairs, but
not anymore. Coach G's out there, he got the new knees. He's good now. But if I could just be able to, at that point, 60, so I might have some grandkids at that point. You know, if I could be coaching my grandkids, like I think
keep doing what you're doing. Keep teaching.
Yes. Yeah. Sadly, I'll still be teaching at 60 something.
Yeah. So just staying consistent over the next 5, 10, 20 years.
Yes, I think just
you're doing
quality.
What you're doing.
Like I have this thing I talk to my students about like longevity versus quality of life. Like, you know, the patterns in which you put in place now, how you eat, how you take care of your body can greatly affect your longevity of life, but also what is the quality of that life?
Yeah.
You know, are you able to get up and down off the floor playing with your grandkids? Are you able to, like, I think of like a dude like George Trice, who's out there. Like the other day, I brought my daughter to, George Trice is a Woodland guy that we know. And he's out there running around coaching all of his grandkids. It's like, you know, and like, I want to be able to do that.
Sure.
If I'm still competing in strongman, cool. If not, that's fine. But I still, you know, want to be involved in athletics. I still like to be training. People.
That's how I feel too. Like with my dad, I help him. I run programming for him.
Yeah.
Because he's realizing he's almost 50, and he's basically, if I never worked out and just worked every day, 10-hour days, then that's what I would turn into. And in a way of me trying to help him is like a way of me trying to help myself from becoming him.
100, yes.
Which is a really complex thing, where if I see myself help him, it'll almost see myself helping myself.
Yeah. No,
20 years down the road.
It is interesting. Like I'm having that same conversation with my dad.
The inception of it.
And like him starting to go to the gym. It is an interesting.
You can see like the mental piece as a son and a father.
Like, yes.
Yeah.
It is a weird dynamic, but we had a conversation the other day about the gym. He's like, okay, I got to call you back. Talk about the sauna in the steam room. And I was like, if anybody knows my dad, then like, you can hear it in your head. Oh, okay, dude, I'll talk to you later.
Dude, I haven't met your dad.
Oh man. Yeah. Yeah.
That's funny.
So it's cool having those conversations.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like in some respect the roles are switched.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting dynamic as you get older.
Mm-hmm. I never want my kids to have to do that for me, and that's why I'm doing it also, because then down the road, I don't want my kids to be begging me to like, hey, you need to move more.
And,
yeah.
If
you want to be able to do the goals that you literally have, like you need to make in the next 5 years. I'm going to go help my dad build his house this summer. And I'm like, hey, if you're doing your workouts appropriately, you can be doing more of the heavy lifting.
Right.
And the longer you wait, because he's been waiting to build, he's been doing a lot on his big property he bought out there, doing a lot of work on it. And I'm like, he's like, yeah, I know, I'm not getting younger. Like, how am I going to expect to put my own roofing on? He's a hard worker. He's a hard worker, but looking out for his ligament health, his joints.
That's the thing.
If you catch yourself, you got to know how to catch yourself if you're falling.
Yeah.
You'll lose those skills that mentally, when you were in your 20s or 30s, you could just stop.
You don't have to think about.
Eat it. Yeah. But then if you go to fall, let's say fall off like an 8-foot ladder, you won't catch yourself because you realize, wait, I can't move that fast because I don't practice it enough. Cool. So then what's your, in the training realm then, what's your favorite style of training or sport specific training that you love to do the most?
I just love doing all of it.
All of it.
Yeah. I really just enjoy training. And so like we have one of my former athletes, he's now a Navy SEAL, but he was getting into competitive CrossFit. And so
that's right. When he came and lifted with us.
I've done a couple of other type of workouts with him. I've done bodybuilding kind of base volume stuff. I love, we go on vacation or travel, whatever, like what's the nearest gym? Like let's go see what other people have, what kind of machines can I go mess around with that I never seen, or I just, I enjoy it all. And I think that's what's fun for me is like, there's always something different, new.
Sure.
There's a variation, there's a variable that we can change. I'm a huge fan of variation. I mean, I think anybody who's trained with me for any amount of time knows that.
Yeah.
Like I hate doing the same thing twice, just because if I'm going to keep training until I'm 60 whatever years old, I cannot do the same thing for the next 20 years.
And that kind of goes along with like a big thing that people say is when you're training something, you're getting better at that only.
Yeah.
Like if you were doing, if someone's doing for their back workouts, they're always doing lat pulls every time they do back workouts. Well, don't think of it as you're getting your back stronger, but you're stronger at lat pulls. Like that's specific.
Yeah.
You need to open up the realm of not just hyper focusing on one lift, unless it's competitive.
Right.
Like power lifters.
Yes.
They will hyper focus at 3 lifts because they have to.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not about just being better at one lift, because that one lift isn't always going to help you in the heat of battle.
And I think athletics and strongman and just life, it all happens in all these different planes of movement. So you think about like the shoulder joint, the hips, like you've got to train in all those different ranges of motion, or else that's where you open yourself up to injury. And so if you're not varying things, if you're not introducing different movements, different planes in which you move, in my kind of opinion, you're putting yourself in a disadvantage to some extent.
Yeah, a lot of like cross plane, I guess is what they'll call it, more cross plane movements.
Yeah, and sport is played in all those different range of motion and planes of movement, and too just from I I start with most of these kids at 7th grade, and then if they stay here in Woodland, like I'll have them for a 6-year period of time. And then if they're, I have one kid who I started with him as an 8th grader. He's going to graduate college, and I've worked with him all the way through. He throws track. And if I were only ever using the same 6 exercise sets, nobody would I would get bored out of my mind, let alone a 17-year-old kid.
Yeah. And you're not training people who are fully developed.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
They're a completely different human being when you stop training them from when you started.
Oh, 100%.
Physically and mentally.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but as far as like my favorite, I have movements that I say I hate, but then like I fall in love with them at different times. Sure. Like all my kids, I hate this, I hate that. Why are we doing this? And it's like there's not one thing like I just can say like I'd be okay if I never did that again. Like I don't know.
I fall in love with, so like for me, like I would say for me the strongman side style of training, a lot of explosiveness, a lot of real world. As a dad of 3 daughters, like I feel like I can move quick, I can carry stuff quick, I can, in any situation, I can protect them from that standpoint. Yeah. But you're seeing more of a spread of training, and like even in the more popular realms where people will say they love training, but they'll never go a week without jujitsu, or they'll never go without any kind of combat sport or swimming. Yeah. So from your standpoint, it's more of just the athletic based training. Yeah. Is really just your favorite. That's movement, why you work in it.
Sprinting, that's something I have to do more of, is that just the sprint work. I do a lot of the agility work with the kids, but actually getting the volume of sprint work. If there's anything that I didn't enjoy per se, like I'm not a runner. Yeah. So, we, as strongmen, we do cardio different ways, whether it's a yoke, a farmer's, a sandbag, you know what I mean? And it's going to tax your cardiovascular system, pretty heavily. I think my resting heart rate was under 60, like well under 60 recently. And it's like, that is somebody who probably has a pretty decent cardiovascular. Yep. But I don't do a whole ton of running. So I do, that is something that I feel like I probably should do more of, kind of the sprint-based stuff. Everybody's now freaking out about, if you jog, you're going to lose all your gains and drop your test. You have to only sprint. All I know is sprinting goes way faster than jogging.
Yeah. You get more distance.
I'm done way faster.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. Because I agree, and I think a lot of strongmen would agree too. It's like that longer, stretched out cardio is, it's like I'd rather put on 600-pound yoke and we'll do 50 feet, in 50-foot increments. Yeah. That's a cardio I can get behind.
It's way more fun.
Way more fun. Yeah. Others would disagree.
Yeah, exactly.
But throwing that much weight on your back feels great. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so then I know you have a lot of different recovery methods. You got a cold tub, hot tub, cupping, massage table. What is your favorite out of any of your recovery methods that you either use for yourself or your athletes?
Hot cold, I think, is always my top, for various reasons. Now that I have the dedicated, so we used to fill it up with ice, water. It was like an ordeal. Now my brother-in-law built me an actual filtered, sterilized cold tub.
It's like a koi pond out there.
Oh, it's freaking. It's always
awesome. Running.
It's awesome. Yeah, so it's on. I have a water feature in the backyard now. It's the cold tub, and so, but it's awesome because it's always there. Yeah. And so, I have a kid today who's probably gonna jump in. I think there's a former athlete who's he's training for marathons, and so he has a long run today. So I think he's gonna come in and jump in the cold tub today. But it's it's there. It's on. We don't have to worry about, we gotta go get ice and
then clean it out because you got dirty, sweaty people.
Yeah.
It's running the filter system and stuff.
No, it's great. So I'm a big hot cold person. We have the massage guns. I tend to use those more, almost like me personally, if I'm getting ready to go do a big deadlift. Okay. And I might be a little sore from the day or two before.
Yeah, if something's too tight, that's when
I
get injured.
End of the day, legs are tired, massage gun. And I think part of that is probably just time.
Well, at that point, you almost want that inflation there.
Yeah, at that point you're going to bed anyways.
Just the hypertrophy side of it.
Yeah,
I guess you just don't want to. I don't know. I wouldn't want. I don't mess with it. It's only for preventative reasons.
Yeah,
I would say is when I have something that's a little too tight.
Yes,
you don't want it to.
You're getting ready to bench press, shoulders a little tight, pecs might be a little sore. Like using
you don't want to compensate and when you're under load, you'd rather get it figured out.
So I use that probably more for that. I have used cupping a decent amount personally, and then also for a ton of my athletes, my football guys in season, I'll cup a handful of them at least every week.
Yeah. I gotta try it sometime.
Yeah.
I've had some issues with my left trap lately. Maybe
so Adam uses my low back all the time. We've had a lot of good success with cupping, and then I'll do cupping, and then after cupping, I'll throw the TENS unit on to just start moving that fluid even more.
Okay.
But I mean, at the end of the day, the big ones are always going to be drink water, eat food, sleep, and stretch.
People forget that's what we've been doing longer than we've been doing
that's
sports.
What, when we talk about this in school, it's like, okay, what are the big three that you can do that you have to do anyways to live?
Yeah.
Like, everybody wants to go get these gadgets and the gizmos, but at the end of the day, like if you're eating the right way, drinking water, sleeping and stretching, you're putting yourself in the best possible environment to recover.
Yeah, the modern science realm, that stuff does help you this much.
Yeah,
doing the stuff that you were created to do will help you that much. And what's more important? Focusing on that they say you're tripping over dollars to pick up dimes.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
So,
cool.
And then stretching yoga has been a huge piece for me, health wise. And then just we're going back to that quality of movement piece. I was just talking to my wife the other day of hey, we need to go back to a better routine. Me and her specifically of just yoga. But that we started implementing a lot of that probably 6 years ago. Yeah. In our warm-ups, in kind of some of the focus of our training. And that has been huge for me. Because I struggled with a lot of lower back issues when I was younger, and I have had none. And now I'm pulling and squatting more than I ever have. So, sweet. And I attribute a lot of that to just the flexibility and the higher quality of movement. Yeah. So
that's a way of recovery of some.
Yeah.
All right. So a few more kind of questions. So for you specifically, because everyone's different, what's been more useful, motivation or discipline? This is kind of a hot topic. That's why.
My motivation has led to my discipline, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I have no discipline. I know my motivation keeps me going until I try to build discipline. Mm-hmm. It's okay to admit,
Yeah. So
other people, they're strictly disciplined. It's never hooked with me, right?
No, it's so. Going back to the coaches and the teachers that invested in me, I hold I have this self-imposed standard that I've given myself, and I know that there's always going to be at least one kid at the high school waiting for me, and that is motivating for me to again give opportunities to be. Me and my wife always talk about we want to be the people either that we didn't have in our lives, or the people that had impact that were in our lives. Yeah, we want to be those people to as many kids as we can. Yeah, right. And more so than not, we want to be the people we didn't have, knowing the things that we struggled with or weren't disciplined with. So and if we can build a relationship with those kids, we can be those people for them. So that is motivation for me to be disciplined in everything that I do. Yeah. And then the other side of it is my kids. Yeah. They are motivation for me to be as disciplined, because I know that if I'm not disciplined, it's real easy for me to fall off and not take care of myself. Yeah. Not train. Yes, I enjoy it. Yes, at this point now, it really is my business, my job, from coaching PE and strength and conditioning to Ironworks, it is all encompassing for me. And so that is motivating too. But I think from a training standpoint, the motivation has led to the discipline.
Yeah.
And then at some point it just becomes who you are.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
that builds
when
consistency
we go
from
on vacation, like I said earlier, or like we're at a hotel for whatever reason, like what's the hotel weight room look like? What's the next closest weight room? And that's just what it has been.
Cool.
And so I think that motivation has led to the discipline that has led to the lifestyle.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. For me, strongman has helped that because signing up for competition pushed me to finally hit PRs and stuff that, you know, you're stagnant on because you don't see a reason.
Yeah.
You don't see anyone else hitting those numbers in your own life. But then you go to a competition, and the best part is being weak there. It's like, it pushes me to be like, oh wow, like, yes. And like my own setting around my friends group, I would consider myself pretty strong. And when I go to a comp, it's like, oh, I have so much work to do.
Yeah.
That's so motivating.
Well, I think it's been beneficial for me and you having each other here because we're able to push each other.
Yes.
Which
someone else who can do over 500 on a deadlift,
which has been good
with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's how you leverage. Okay. So that kind of goes on to my next question of like that you use the motivation to leverage going forward into your discipline.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So how do you translate that to your work-life training balance? I guess you kind of covered that too.
Well, this is the thing I've always struggled with is balance.
Yeah.
Because me and my wife are very all or nothing people.
In your own realms.
Just in general, like if we're doing something, we're doing something.
Yeah.
And the balance of life, sometimes like that's something that I've really had to work at. I'm still not great at it, but like here, like I have a hard, like I'm not training anybody after 6:30.
Yeah.
And in my head,
so
I'm
setting
like,
your limitations is the hard part.
Yeah. Like I enjoy all this, but like at the end of the day, like there has to be some balance for the well-being of my family, for just my well-being.
Yeah.
Same thing like when I'm coaching football, I have a really hard time balancing life. And we had an AD that really was like, dude, what are you doing? Go home. Like,
yeah.
And he, you know, I appreciate Paul for trying to like opening my eyes to that. And like, you know, at the end of the day, like I'm called to be the best father and husband I can be, not the best strength coach per se. I want to do really well in anything I do because, you know, I want to try to do everything as unto the Lord. But, you know, my first like ministry is my wife and kids. And so I need to, that's something I'm always trying to weigh in the balance of like, you know.
But that's why getting them involved in it has been great.
That's been awesome.
That's like why I pushed my wife to be, she also competes, you know.
Yeah.
And she's getting back into it now after having a kid.
Yep.
And my kids work out when I work out in my gym.
Yep.
You know, that's why my whole brand is Strong Dad Apparel because my daughter named it when she was 5 at the time. If you don't bring them into it, then it's hard because you can't separate.
So now it's cool. Like both of my boys come to 6 a.m. lift with me.
Okay.
My daughter is in here so whenever we're in here, she's in here. Yeah. And everybody who's been here knows that. Pipes is always in here. She's been coming in the mornings and coming in running a mile, just working on her conditioning for basketball. Cool. She comes and does her Olympic lifts. And then my wife, she is, you know, this is not a thing without her, period. Yeah. Just doesn't happen without Molly. And then last year we ran our Woodland Strongest competition. She was promoter. She was everything.
Did she really enjoy that?
She enjoyed it. She likes putting on events. She likes doing community things.
Community gathering. Yeah, I was about to say like a communal gathering like that.
Yes, and so like she did an amazing job last year of getting just the city on board and working with all the different variables and people and getting competitors. And
she was passionate about it.
She was working the crowd. Like she was the best MC ever. Yeah. Like, so like none of this happens without her. And so those types of things do help with the balance aspect of it. But again,
it wasn't something that you had to, some people have to, and that's complicated, but you didn't have to force your wife to do that. She wanted to do that aspect.
She was like, hey,
enjoyed it. She's ready to do it again.
Yeah. She's like, hey, I'm putting this competition on. And I was like, all right, cool. Let's go.
All right. So I guess you've mostly already covered this in all of your training, but outside of work, in what ways do you help reach out to the community of athletes? So let's say your competition, outside of the school system.
I think just trying to be outside of school stuff. I mean, that's the hard. It all blends, like all the lines blend as far as like athletes in and out of here. We just, one of the reasons why we call it Strength Alliance is everybody has different forms of what strength looks like for them, whether they're competing in an actual like traditional sport or strongman, or just trying to be stronger, or just trying to build strength in community. Like we can all be allies in everybody trying to better themselves, whether it be one of those aspects of physically, mentally, or spiritually.
Yeah.
And so we can all be allies with each other in that pursuit.
Yeah.
And so like we work with FCA, so I have a big group of FCA volleyball players that come in that aren't Woodland kids.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah. So on Wednesdays is like my big volleyball day. And that's cool to be able to branch out of Woodland a little bit. Like I got my Woodland tattoo on my calf. Like I'm a
You're one of us now.
I'm in like an adopted Woodlandite. But like it's cool to be able to get the name out there a little bit further. I think now probably in the local strongman, just more so from you, like people have an idea of who we are.
Yeah.
And we make it a point to try to have a presence. Like when we go to the strongman competitions, like I want people to see like that we're together and we're different. Like I like coming as a group. I like, that we don't cuss. All our kids are there.
Yep.
Like it's a community thing, and I feel like people see that we're different.
It helps keep the kids involved. The next ones to train.
And so like my. It's hard because like I said in the first video, like this is like a glorified home gym. The reality of it is I'd love to have a full-blown operation, and but again, going to that balance of life, it's like could I do that right now? No, not effectively, not well. What does that do with my balance of family
at this current point?
Right now, here and now.
Your kids get older,
and so
things change.
And so reaching out, branching out, trying to pull people in from other places right now is it's not just because of life, not one of my main focuses.
Yeah. And but then I guess that's where Strongman really has helped you outside of the school system is Strongman Saturdays. You got people who we've just met that just show up here. The competition to bring the community together at Woodland Strongest.
That's been cool. That's been like Kendall, who's been out of here for a little bit. Like he came because of Woodland Strongest. So that's
fostering new relationships.
Yeah, that's been really cool. And I think, we get all kinds of, like when we're doing stuff like today, we're going to do yoke out in the driveway. It's like people will slow down and awkwardly stare, and it's like, what is going on over there? So we've had people like, message us on Instagram or email us or questions about stuff. I actually had a really cool message the other day. I'm excited to kind of talk to somebody about, they have a family friend that is a high level weightlifter, but she's blind. She goes to school blind here in Washington. And so really cool opportunity that could come. And so I'm excited to talk to them.
That's that's a whole other realm because you're not focusing on visual cues, but just as in the same, you don't need a mirror to do it if you can feel the movement. She probably has a way better balance set up for how she can feel where the weight's at, which so much of that is technique anyways. So that's interesting.
So I'm really excited to see where that goes. But God just keeps bringing opportunities, and I think if we're faithful with what He's given us, He'll continue to bless that. And so that's really kind of our prayer and our goal is like, hey, I need to be faithful with my family, with my wife, with my kids, but then also, all the blessings and all the things that He's put in front of us. Whether it's my job at school, here, my athletes that I coach specifically like for football and things of that nature, being faithful with those things. whether how big or small they are.
Yeah.
Like, you know, that's my job, is to try to do them as best I can, be as impactful as I can, and you know, and kind of let what happens after that happen.
Sweet. So a couple quick fun questions, because I know we're running out of time before we're actually doing a Strongman Saturday lift today. So real quick, favorite equipment you've ever used? Favorite one piece of equipment you've ever used? It doesn't have to be in your gym.
I have no idea.
Thor hammer. Conan's wheel.
So I've done a lot of, I've done a lot of stuff, but it's like not one. I'm like, that's the thing, because like I like all of them
That's fine.
for a different reason, or not.
Well,
like I
whatever.
use this like weird leg press hack squat thing at a gym not that long ago. I was like, hey, this is kind of cool.
Was it like a pendulum?
No, I wanted to use a pendulum, but like
Okay.
I couldn't get into the gym that had the pendulum squat.
Okay.
I've never used one of those, but like,
Snap Fitness in Longview has one.
really,
Which was really shocking. Someone sent me a picture. A dude that I'm friends with, he's like, hey, that I've met through training a few years ago. He's like, hey, dude, they have a pendulum.
That's
Like he
random.
knew he could randomly send me
That's
that,
random.
and I would be interested. Okay, so then what is one piece of famous equipment that you would love to get your hands on at least once and be able to use it?
because like I like a lot of the Louis Simmons
be
stuff, but I
strongman
have a
based
lot
too.
of Louis Simmons stuff, like the
Like
reverse
a
underdog squat
specific
and-
famous thing.
You know what? I really want to lift that Thomas Inch dumbbell, but I've actually tried to do it at Lucas Hatton's gym up at Dungeon.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of cool to be able to have the opportunity to do that.
Yes. As a replica that's
Yes.
made by a reputable company like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So that like,
Okay, so something like that, because you like the grip.
Yeah.
See, like for me, I would say, of course, going to Iceland, doing the Husafell.
Yeah, you've talked about that
Husafell
a
stone.
ton.
One day, that's
Yeah.
my only goal in
yeah.
strength.
Yeah. I don't know. I just, like I said, I like it all. So like, you know, if I could mess around with all those things, but there's not one I'm like you have that stone.
Yeah.
Like you've talked about it since the day I met you.
Yeah.
So
That's it. That's my goal.
yeah.
Okay, so then real quick, if you could only have one place to go eat that fit your macros for an entire month, where would you go? Can't say your wife's cooking.
I love pizza, but I'm not sure that fits anything.
Like
like
a
I'm-
restaurant that you has a variety enough to hit all that.
I could probably eat like a Chipotle, something like that. But like,
I had the same. That was my answer.
if
Chipotle.
if I'm gonna eat one thing,
You can
like,
break down their nutrition stuff on their website.
Yeah.
And so I know what I'm putting in my burrito.
Yeah. But like, I'll always choose pizza.
Pizza. Okay. Well,
I think that's
pizza
like the
can hit macros.
Connecticut kid in me is like,
Oh,
yeah,
man.
which is probably does not fit any macros, but
So let's say a sport that you never played in. It has to be one you've never played in. If you could go pro in something, what would it be?
I think rugby makes the most sense.
Rugby. Okay, I guess that's
Yeah.
an easy answer.
Yeah.
It's so close to football, and
Yeah,
you can learn to do a hockey and
Yeah.
everything.
yeah,
Oh, that'd be fun to go down to New Zealand. And
yes. Molly wants
so
me to
bad.
play rugby.
so before we go, is there any like social media page you want to shout out?
You know, obviously we work closely with the Strong Dad stuff, the Thor's Hammer Challenge, and the hammers are sitting in the background.
Do you have your
Oh, the
socials?
Ironworks stuff. Yeah, Ironworks.
Ironworks. Where can they find you at?
Instagram, Facebook. Yeah, I think that's just there. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for sitting down with us.
Thank you, sir.
You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Strong Dad Apparel. We are on YouTube and Spotify under SDA Athletics. That's where you're going to find our podcast, Athlete Next Door. Of course, check out our website, strongdadapparel.com. That's it for part 2 of first episode.
Yes.
Cool. Let's get it.